Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we're going to talk about running backs in a different way. It's not about the ones that are going to win you leagues. It's not necessarily the ones that we must have. It's the ones that scare the living daylights out of us. And some of the guys right here are going to be avoiding in 2024 to help us break down those names on the running back board, and some big names too. I just want to prepare the audience. Scott Bogman, the man around our college football stuff over on the Betting Pros channel. Of course, you see him all over the Dynasty podcast here on Fantasy Pros, and our newest member of the Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros family, the host of Fast Break Bets. It's hard to say that, and I actually said it right. It's the one, the only Terrell Furman Jr. Terrell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend, and you and Boggs are going to spend some quality time in the college football universe this fall. I imagine that's a pretty exciting prospect for you.
Yeah, I mean, before we went on air, you guys asked me who's my college football team, and I said, whoever I got money on, whoever it is, like I like them. Like, now I could run off the list because Virginia Tech is a hometown team, and we root for Virginia Tech and Virginia, not Virginia. Nobody roots for Virginia. But then we got Liberty as two, and then Coastal I used to like, and they're really cool. Utah, and there's a bunch of teams. So we'll just save that for the college football stuff.
We will. And Boggs, that starts up pretty soon here. Again, as the host of the Dynasty podcast, I'm very excited that you guys are going to get to work together on that Terrell's doing the basketball stuff for us on Betting Pros too. If you haven't, go subscribe to the Betting Pros channel too. We're growing every single day over there. And we're going to have NFL shows 5 days a week this year, plus a lot of live streams and more content there. But Boggs, in the fantasy season too, you're seeing these running backs. I know you're still the old school running back guy. So this is kind of why to have you on this show, because I feel like this is right in your wheelhouse. Like, you're the guy who is still going out for those early bell cow running backs, even though this is now a wide receiver world and we're living in it. So for you to say, no, don't go near that running back, I think that takes a lot, doesn't it, for you?
It does. It was kind of hard for me to pick running backs that I don't like. I mean, look, I'm short and squatty with huge shoulders. Of course I love the running backs, right? That's my position right
Big
there.
thighs, so, strong thighs.
That's thick thighs. That's
powerful.
Right. The big boys. Yeah. So I like all those guys. Steelers fan. Grew up rooting for Jerome Bettis. Mike Allstott, one of my favorite players. I like the big plotters. So yeah, I love the running back position. But there are some guys that I am a little bit leery, however you want to say it, on this year, and we will get to them. I had you guys already asking me before we started, like, you don't like this guy? What's your problem? So
well, we'll get to that. That's a tease. That's what they call in the business. And don't forget, if you want to apply some of the knowledge from the guys, the best way to do it is the mock draft simulator. It's available right now. Download Draft Wizard's app or go to fantasypros.com/draftwizard. You can employ different strategies. You could go 0 RB and make Bogman very, very uncomfortable. You could do late round quarterback, whatever you want to do. You could set the tools to those different strategies. You can also use amazing pieces like the pick predictor, draft intel, which I used all weekend to be prepared for my big expert league draft. And guess what? It was amazing. The intel that I had on some of the best in the industry to try to get my championship back. I lost it last year to Adam Ronis. I got to get it back. It has been myself, then Ronis, then both of us splitting, then Ronis. So it's my turn again. I'm coming for you, Adam. I'm coming for you, buddy. But still, again, go use that mock draft simulator. It's the best way to get prepared. Use the tool, sync your leagues for free over at Fantasy Pros, and let us help you dominate all of your drafts. Terrell, you're the new guy around here, so I want you to come in hot here. We got 8 names for each of you here of running backs that you're avoiding the season. It's not that you can't draft these guys, but the guys are just avoiding them for specific reasons. So who's the number 4 guy on your list, Terrell?
Oh, Christian McCaffrey. I am ducking Christian McCaffrey this year. The 101. Now, first of all, I will admit I am copping out because I never get the 101. So I never have the opportunity to do this. But if I did, I would not be drafting Christian McCaffrey. And here's why. Because this has been absurd the work that he's gotten in the past 2 seasons that we've only seen in recent history. One, Derrick Henry be able to top what Derrick Henry had back-to-back seasons with 400 plus touches. He had 300 plus 2 seasons ago. Last season, he finished with 417 over the course of the playoffs and regular season. But now, look, it's already starting. It's already like that's the best part about this. And when this show is recording, is because it's already starting. He already has an injured calf. And are we saying that the injured calf is going to be the thing that gets re-injured? No, but he's an aging running back who has injury history. And just because he has now this injured calf, what if he starts overcompensating on one other side? What if things don't start looking right and he gets hurt through this season? If you miss even 2 games with Christian McCaffrey and you drafted him 101, you're going to be hurt. Like, go back to when Joe Mixon had 419 in 2021. In 2022, he played 14 games and he finished as the RB10, which is still a good season, but that's not 101 worthy. So if Christian McCaffrey misses a couple games and he falls from where he probably is at RB3 to RB7, RB8, RB9, you're kind of hurt, especially when you could have had somebody that I think could beat the RB1 in Bijan Robinson. Like, you could have had him. There's just so many other options that I would rather take than Christian McCaffrey this year that I'm just staying completely away from him. Again, I never have this problem because I never get the 101. But if I did, I would not be drafting Christian McCaffrey.
Who is your 101? Just out of curiosity.
Bijan.
Okay, so you're still going running back. Oh, look, best friends. You and Boggs together. You're taking a Texas guy. Oh, look at this. Now, I'm okay with that, too. I get that. Look at that. You horns up, horns down.
SEC.
I can't wait for the college football show. It's going to be a good.
Yep.
You better dial in now, everybody, over on Betting Pros. It's going to be a good time.
I might bet against them every single game. Just because I might bet against them every single game.
But I keep going back to that same thing, too. It's not like we don't have recent, looks at these guys who go over 400, like the Josh Jacobs season from a couple years ago. Yeah, and I don't understand why Christian McCaffrey in everybody's mind is just so somehow, can't possibly fail, right? He can't possibly fail. He's failed a few times in his career. Now, I know the last couple of years have been really good, but I'm where you are. At the 101, I'm usually taking, me, I'm taking a wide receiver there, so it's a little different. I'm probably taking Lamb. I'm probably going to go Jamar Chase, one of those two guys, but I totally get where you're coming from. Boggs, I know this offends you, which is great, so I want to go right to you. Why should people still go after McCaffrey before we get to the first guy on your list of ones to avoid? Why is it going to be okay despite 417 touches?
Well, because he outscored Raheem Mostert, the second highest scoring in half PPR, by 102 points. He outscored Breece Hall, the number 2 in PPR, by 101 points. So he can miss 2 games and still whoop those guys. I mean, we've seen it before. I think this calf injury, this is a calf injury. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want to play him in the preseason.
Play the X-Files music.
Well, but what would be stranger for him, to have this injury that they say, we're not worried about it at all, he's going to be good to go for the preseason, or would it be stranger for them to give him run in the preseason after touching the ball 400 times? I think this is very smoke and mirrors, this injury already. Maybe he had a little tightness. Maybe there was something there to it, and they used it as the excuse to not play him in the preseason. But you don't need one. We know what this guy is. I say limit your ifs. If there's too many ifs to get this guy to be a good player, then you don't probably want to draft that guy. But there's only one if for Christian McCaffrey, and it's if he misses games. If he gets hurt, that can happen to any running back. So I don't really care about the risk because the risk is pretty similar with all the RBs. I know he's a heavy usage guy. I get it. If you don't want to take him, please let him fall to me at 3 or 2 or 4, wherever, and I will snap up Christian McCaffrey and be super happy.
Well, luckily we got, you know what, Terrell? We've got a mock coming up with you, I believe next week. I'm going to give you the 1-1, and just to let it go. So you finally get it, so you can talk about it. That's what I'm going to do.
It's going to be Bijan and Breece. It's Bijan and Breece. That's it. That's my only 2 options.
Boggs, who has more rushing yards this year, CMC or Derrick Henry? Boggs.
Ooh, rushing yards? I'll go with Derrick Henry.
That's where I'm going, Terrell. Rushing yards.
CMC is going to miss. I don't know. I think Derrick Henry might actually. They're both of them kind of aging too. I'll take Derrick Henry.
There you go. 925.5. That's the over/under for the total for Derrick Henry. Go bet it right now, everybody. All right, let's go back to fantasy. Boggs, give me a running back that you're avoiding in 2024. Who's number 4 on your list?
Yeah, let's pull the gas. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on these big names here. I'm going to go to, look, and this is how you can tell I'm not biased. I'm going to go to my boy Jonathon Brooks from Texas. I love him. I think he's better than Chuba. He's better than Miles. And maybe he pays off for you this season. But there have just been too many times where I have rostered an injured running back going into the season, and they take a little bit longer to get back, and maybe they don't live up to the hype.
Like
Javonte Williams.
Yeah. Look at me. Let's that right in there.
I'm sorry. I was trying to hold it in. I really was.
Yeah. But Javonte is the perfect example from last season, right? He tore the knee, and we got Pollyanna Sean Payton out there talking about how great he is and how he's amazing, and there's no problem. He looks great. He's the best I've ever seen, whatever. He's doing the same stuff this year. But I don't want to go into the season with an injured player. This guy tore his knee in late October. All the stuff that we heard leading up to the draft was he should be back for training camp. This is not as big an issue. He's recovering phenomenally. Then we get to training camp, and, he's probably going to start the year on the PUP. So when are we believing? Where is the line? That he's exactly going to be back right as soon as he's eligible off the PUP? I don't think so. So I think he misses a big chunk of this year. I don't know if he looks exactly the same because a lot of guys don't. So I'm just going to pass on him this year, and I'm going to let somebody else take the risk.
Look, I love the player. I'm with you. Where he's being drafted, I think, is right on that borderline. Like Brian Robinson's still going well ahead of him. I would take Brian Robinson. He's in that bucket with Tajay Spears, Austin Eckler, Chase Brown, who's become a very trendy selection now. He's going ahead of Nick Chubb, which is also interesting. Another guy working his way back from knee issues. Terrell, Nick Chubb, Jonathon Brooks, or hard pass on both?
Hard pass on both. I'm not an injured running back guy. I've been burned too many times. There's too many times that I've gone through a fantasy season, took a running back that may have been questionable, and that person just didn't step up for me. So I really, I question health with running backs a lot. And if you're not looking good early on, you're not going to get healthier playing football. Like, that's just the fact. You're not getting healthier playing football.
That's a good point. That's a very easy one to digest. All right, Terrell, let's go back to you for another guy on your list of running backs to avoid this season.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about him because, he's a former Cowboy, so I cannot wait to fade him. And that is Tony Pollard. Because I question if Tony Pollard's coaches even know he or Tajay Spears exist. I really do. I don't think they understand that those two players exist. All they talk about, whenever you look at media, whenever Will Levis, this passing offense, how they're going to do it, how they're looking. Oh, it's not good today. Oh, it's going to be better tomorrow. They're going to look really good. Oh, wait, DeAndre Hopkins is hurt. All right, we still got Calvin Ridley. We have all these options. We're going to pass. Man, I don't think they're going to run the ball. I really don't think they're going to run the ball. Like, I think that Nick Holt's the offensive coordinator, and they have decided that Will Levis is going to be the future of this team, and they're going to go out there and they're going to let Will Levis Jameis this whole thing. 30-30. Will Levis, Jameis Winston, 30-30. It's going to happen the second time that it's going to happen. And so I that's the first part, and just I don't think that that the philosophy for them is the run game. And then you have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard, who they're going to split time with. I don't think either one of them is going to dominate snaps. They're both going to be involved in whatever running offense that they have. They may be able to get something going between the pass game, but really looking at, Tony Pollard on the ground, he came from an 11th ranked offensive run line. The run block game for the offensive line, they were 11th with the Cowboys, and he was still only getting 2.92 yards after contact in the NFL, which is 48th of all qualified running backs, where now he's going to an offensive line that's projected 28th in run block, 28th. Derrick Henry left, and they said, we don't care about running the ball no more. We're not even going to try. We're not even going to give you the pieces to be able to do that. I just think that this is going to be a dumpster fire on the ground for them. Hopefully, PPR points help them, and they kind of get a little better, but still, splitting time 50-50, I just don't think Tony Pollard's worth it, and there's a lot of other guys around that range that I would rather take.
I don't disagree. I don't have any shares actually of either Tennessee running back so far in any of my drafts that I've done, and that's just one of those situations of just kind of avoiding them. I think it makes a lot of sense there. 30 for 30, that's funny. We'll see if we can get to 30 touchdowns. I don't know if Levis can do that. We'll see. That's the number I have a harder time believing. Is that what's the over-under on that? I got to go look. Speaking of the over-under on that, make sure that you're making some investments in some of the things that we're talking about, because if you're playing fantasy football, you're investing in certain players in certain situations, you might well go ahead and invest some of your money in it too. And over at Betting Pros, we try to help everybody do that in a very responsible way, but also in a way they're going to win some money. But the place you should be doing it is over on DraftKings. And if you go right now, there's a special situation over on DraftKings for new folks from Fantasy Pros. Use the promo code Fantasy Pros. Again, you can get 150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. And it doesn't matter if you're new to betting, you've never done it before, if it's legal in your state, there's an opportunity for you to go out there and just test the waters a little bit. There's simple things like money line you can bet on, simple things like the over-unders in games, or like that Derrick Henry prop that he's absolutely going to smash that I threw out there, 925.5. That's a joke. That's like 8 games for Derrick Henry. But anyway, go right now, again, to DraftKings, use that promo code Fantasy Pros, get 150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Boggs, let's go to number 3 on your list of running backs to avoid.
Yeah, I'm going to say Gus Edwards. And I think when we look at this offense and we go, well, Justin Herbert now has plantar fasciitis. We know Greg Roman wants to run the ball. We know Gus Edwards has familiarity here. We know J.K. Dobbins has an extensive injury history. And the wide receivers are bad. So they're going to need to run the ball really to keep that crappy defense on the sideline too and gassed up for the fourth quarter. Like, you want to run the ball. You want to, control the clock. And that should mean a lot of carries for Gus Edwards. But, I mean, he had this unexpected offseason surgery. He just returned. Those aren't really green flags, I would say. J.K. Dobbins got a lot of positivity and a lot of hype while Gus Edwards was down. We've heard one of our favorite sleepers on Fantasy Pros this whole offseason has been Kamani Vidal, who is a broken tackle machine, or at least he was at Troy. So we'll see what he brings to the NFL. Jarrett Patterson has been working in as well and getting a little bit of buzz too. But the thing for me is that I was really kind of excited about Justin Herbert this year, right? And I think that he's underrated. He's such a good quarterback. He's super underrated. And the defense is still bad. I thought they're going to have to pass the ball more than expected. I don't think that really changes. But now you have Easton Stick. Last season, Gus Edwards faced the 3rd most stacked boxes in the NFL under Greg Roman. It went CMC, Derrick Henry, Gus Edwards. And last season, he had Lamar Jackson in the backfield to be another rushing threat. Well, now you either have Gimpy, Justin Herbert, or Easton Stick, who I like, but he ain't ready. We showed that at the end of last season. So I don't know where this run game takes off. I just know that it's not going to be under Gus Edwards. Maybe he leads them in carries. Maybe he scores some touchdowns, but it ain't going to be for my team. I am not investing in this Chargers offense with a gimpy Justin Herbert, a bad O-line, and a bad defense. I'm out.
I did not have Easton Stick on my bingo card today, guys, we were going to talk about. So that was fun. It was fun to bring him up there. That was painful for a lot of Chargers fans. Way to go, Boggs. All right, let's go back to another guy on Terrell's list. We've got 4 more. We're halfway through our list. And this next guy is one that we mentioned earlier in the show, Terrell, who had a boatload of carries 2 years ago and last year kind of floundered a little bit, and now he finds himself in a different place. It's Josh Jacobs now in Green Bay. Sometimes a red flag, too, when teams get rid of a running back and then they go to a different organization. It doesn't always work out. And then when that same organization drafts a rookie at the same time in the draft with some decent capital, Terrell, break down the reasons why you're avoiding Josh Jacobs this year.
All right, so clearly the Men in Black came down with the neuralizers and made everybody forget who the coach of the Green Bay Packers is, but it's Matt LaFleur, in case you guys didn't remember. And I just want you to remember that, hey, free Aaron Jones was a thing. Free Aaron Jones was a thing.
From what, the IL?
For the IL is crazy. The IL is crazy. Yeah. But touches. They wanted Aaron Jones to get more touches. They said, stop splitting this backfield. Stop splitting the backfield. Stop giving everybody else opportunity. If it wasn't Jamal Williams, it was A.J. Dillon. It just felt like they kept giving other people the ball. And so Aaron Jones, for under Matt LaFleur, 2019, 17.8 touches per game. 2020, 17.7. 2021, 14.9. 2022, 16. 2023, 15.9. Josh Jacobs needs volume. That's how he got to the level of the running back that he was, because of the volume he was getting. Look at what Josh Jacobs did in that exact same span. 2019, 20.2 touches. 2020, 20.4. 2021, 18.1, 2022, 23.1 touches per game, 2023, 20.8. He's not sniffing anywhere close to that in this offense because that's not what Matt LaFleur wants to do. That's why they drafted Marshawn Lloyd. They wanted to get somebody else in that running back room because they now no longer have any faith in A.J. Dillon. If they did, I would question him as a head coach because I'm so tired of A.J. Dillon as a running back. So Marshawn Lloyd is actually kind of a love for me because he's going to have a role in this offense because they don't want to give it to one guy. I cannot trust this Green Bay Packers offense running the ball with the fact that they split time and the fact that they're not a good run offense at all anyway. In 2023, they were 27th ranked in run block O-line, and you have the Raiders in that same span that were 6th. So you go from the 6th best run block O-line to the 27th. Like, I just don't think it's going to be good for the Josh Jacobs experience this year. I'm staying away from him.
There's a cluster of these veteran backs in new places. Mixon at 14, Jacobs at 15, Aaron Jones at 19, where it doesn't feel real good for me.
Right in that mix too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a great situation. It's why I like to be right around Devon Achane and Rashad White, and then let it go. Like, I want to be drafting wide receivers around their Boggs. That's where I'm at, and then come back around when it's like, wake me up when Ramondre Stevenson's still out there, or wake me up like a couple of other guys. You know, that's how I feel about that grouping. Boggs, are you like that too? It's just very dangerous, and more dangerous maybe because they're so well known to all the people who play fantasy every year. They go, oh, Aaron Jones, oh, Joe Mixon, I've had him 3-4 years ago. They were good. I'm just going to draft him again.
Yeah, I know I'm known as the running back guy, but it's because I'm willing to take a running back in the first, really. After that, I'm waiting. Kenneth Walker is my guy. I'm going to take later than a bunch of those guys that you just mentioned. He just goes a little bit later, and I think he's better with the ball in his hands than those guys, and I think Seattle's going to have to run more than expected. So, yeah, I'm not out on Josh Jacobs too, and I will admit, Terrell, I'm one of those guys that was like, man, they just paid him a boatload of money. This guy can touch the ball 300 times, and then Pat Fitzmaurice, who's a Packers fan, in my ear constantly saying how, look, I know you like Josh Jacobs, and he is a good RB, but LaFleur's just not going to give him the touches that you want. And CK, who writes for us at Fantasy Pros, pointed this stat out to me, you guys. Josh Jacobs has 197 career receptions. How many touchdowns does he have, Joe?
Wait, say that one more time, or give it to me one more time.
197 career receptions for Josh Jacobs. How many are touchdowns?
The way you're asking it, I'm going to say 2.
Lower.
I'm going to say 9.
That's it.
None?
Not a single one, which is just insane for a guy like that to have 197 catches and never get in the end zone. Is kind of nuts.
That's almost absurd. It's almost impossible, to be honest with you, at the end of the day. But I guess the Raiders had a whole other set of problems potentially the last couple of years. Let's go back to you here, Scott Bogman, because you've got another name that's number 2 on your list of running backs you're avoiding. And this one is, again, this one hurts me because this is a guy I do think is going to get a lot of volume and is relatively cheap and showed you some flashes and came from a running back factory in college. So why do you hate him so much, Boggs?
Yeah, it's Zamir White for the Raiders, and it's not that I hate him. You know, he does drop to the point where I will roster him. A couple of the other guys we mentioned, like I'm not rostering Edwards, I'm not rostering Brooks for this season in a one-off redraft league. In Dynasty, I'll take him, but not in a one-off. And my reasoning for Zamir White is like, yes, we are very excited, and he had that huge workload at the end of the season, 20, 22, 22, 26 touches. He had 9 of his 15 catches that he caught in the season in those 4 games last season. That was a really good sample. I just don't think that that's the way we're going to see it run in Vegas this year. I think Dylan Lobby has already established himself as the third down back, and I think there's a little Austin Eckler in Dylan Lobby as well. I think he's good enough with the ball in his hands to get some run. I also think Brock Bowers, who, you know, we mentioned in a show earlier this week, Joe, I think Brock Bowers is going to be a guy that gets a little bit of run. And when you look at this offense, it's got to run through the quarterback. I know Zamir White is a good runner with the ball in his hands. I don't think he's a 3-down back. I think he's a 2-down back. I don't know if he can catch the ball real well out of the backfield. That's the thing. He didn't do it at Georgia. He didn't do it last year with Vegas either. So maybe it's in there, but I've never seen it, and I know Dylan Lobby is really good at it. And I think Dylan Lobby is going to take some workload pressure off of Zamir White. They still like Amir Abdullah as well in Vegas, so I just think that we're overestimating his touches to start the season, and this whole offense has to work through Devontae, Jacoby Myers, and Brock Bowers. I think if you're not throwing the ball and getting the ball in those guys' hands, you're doing it wrong, and I think the Raiders know that. So I think they're going to pass the ball a little bit more. I think there's threats to his touches, and I just don't think he's going to be a guy to catch a lot of passes either. So if you're in half or full PPR, I think it lowers him a little bit. So I'm just not going to be investing too many times on Zamir White.
All right, let's get to the big name on the number one spot on Terrell's list. The guy that you are avoiding at the running back position in 2024 more than any other RB is who?
DeAndre Swift. I'm so out on DeAndre Swift. And I love that everybody is in on DeAndre Swift. And those filthy stinking Eagles, they did something right. They were thinking about the long game because they said we're going to make DeAndre Swift look like a stud. That way everybody overdrafts him next year and Terrell can go and sweep by and not even have to worry about it. Because look, he went and he got paid, but he's no longer playing for the Eagles. So guess what? He's probably not going to get 229 attempts again, guys. He's probably not. When you watched the offensive line for the Eagles last year, I mean, it was like Moses parted the Red Sea for DeAndre Swift to just walk through with the football and get all of these explosive yards. Like, his yards after contact was horrible because he didn't get hit because he had the whole field to work with. It was insane. And I just don't think that he's going to get that in a Chicago offense. I think that, while I am horns down, there's a horns up with Roschon Johnson, who I think is going to be really, really good.
Yeah,
and I think he's going to take away first down, second down work by the end of the season, where DeAndre Swift, I think, is going to be majority passing down, kind of a change back. I really don't think he's keeping his job. I really don't have faith in DeAndre Swift. I think he's a part-time running back at best, where they kind of go a 50-50 split with him and Roschon Johnson.
And he hasn't really been the touchdown scorer wherever he goes. That's been the one thing that Andrew Erickson always kind of points out to everyone every chance he gets. So a good case against DeAndre Swift. And I got one too. I have not had one single share, I think, on any mock show we've done, any real draft I've done. And you're right. Everybody collectively really excited about the Bears. Me, I'm kind of like, meh. I like DJ Moore at a certain cost. Other than that, just, I don't know. I'm more in the proof.
I'm actively trying to trade him in my Dynasty League.
Who,
like,
DJ
actively
Moore?
right now,
Keenan
today.
Allen, I'm actively trying to trade, too. That's not going well. So, I got to figure out.
I sent DeAndre Swift and a pick for Michael Pittman, and I got denied. And I didn't even get I didn't even get the courtesy.
Yeah,
that's hard, I should. I very much should. But I didn't. But that guy loves running backs. He loves running backs. Like,
look,
and
I
his
said
running
no.
backs
All right, I'm not trading. Pittman's one of my favorite. All right.
Oh yeah, he is. We just did a show yesterday. It's right on there.
Yeah, man.
Bogman's must-have guys. That was on his list, and a guy that I love too is number one. And so we see eye to eye on that. Boggs, give me your number one running back that you're avoiding this season.
Let's double down, baby. It's DeAndre Swift. I have 0 shares of DeAndre Swift. And let me just echo some things Terrell just said here. The offensive line was responsible for DeAndre Swift's season last year. And look, he was 52nd in run grade in PFF among all running backs. If you lower that to guys with 100 carries, he was 36 of 49. I think Roschon is better in short yardage. I think Khalil Herbert is just as good as DeAndre Swift in a lot of situations. And let's just make no bones or buts about it. The Bears screwed the pooch with Justin Fields. They gave him nobody until DJ Moore was there to work with and expected him to do it all. They know they can't do that again. That is why for Caleb Williams coming in, they go and they trade for Keenan Allen. They draft Rome Odunze. They sign a pass catcher in DeAndre Swift. They are leaving no stone unturned in giving Caleb Williams the weapons to work with to be a successful quarterback that they didn't do for Justin Fields. He's a piece of this offense, a small piece of this offense. Like I just said with the Raiders, if you're not working this offense through DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, too, is going to get more targets than Swift. You should be fired immediately. This is it. in Chicago. If they don't throw the ball a ton, they're idiots. So I just think DeAndre Swift's not going to have that much of a role as people see. And I know they gave him a boatload of money, but they had a lot of money to spend. So, go out and get a pass catcher for your new quarterback. They were installing the offense in March. Maybe that's who he said he wanted. I don't know what the reason was they went out and got him. Didn't make sense to me then. Doesn't make sense to me now. I will have 0 shares of DeAndre Swift.
I feel like we're a fraud because we promised everybody 8 running backs, yet we've only given them 7. So I'm going to throw one out there for good measure. I am avoiding Zach Moss this year. I know what my eyes saw in Buffalo all those years. And I know there were a lot of Zach Moss truthers out there on the internets floating around for years and years. And last year they felt completely validated because he stepped into a situation where there was a void with Jonathan Taylor and a pretty good offensive line with a great offensive-minded head coach in Shane Steichen. And all of a sudden, Zach Moss was okay. To Bogman's point, when you have Joe Burrow in Cincinnati and you have Jamar Chase and you have T. Higgins and you have Yoshi Voss and you have Burton and you have all of these weapons.
Gesicki even now.
Yeah. And there's just no reason to me why we can look at Zach Moss and think that he is going to be somebody you want to invest draft capital in. Now, I know it's not a lot of capital. I know he's still relatively cheap. But Chase Brown's gaining a lot of traction. Terrell, Chase Brown for you, Zach Moss for you, or no Bengals running backs for you?
Oh, I'm good on the Bengals running back. I'm straight on the Bengals running back because what if it's neither one? What if they both fall off the radar? Like, I really just am not interested. And I think that Joe Burrow is going to be a man on a mission this year.
Agreed.
and throwing the ball. And they got one more year at T. Higgins, it looks like. So they're going to use them and they're going to go out there. And I don't think that they'll be in a situation because I really, really don't trust this Bengals team, to be honest. I think that they're going to be in passing situations a lot in the game where they're going to be trying to, hey, we're going to use Joe Burrow. We're going to get ourselves back in this game. And then they're not going to be playing in ahead in a bunch of them. Like, I don't think they're going to be this dominant Bengals team. I think they're going to be good, but not a dominant Bengals team that's leading by double digits in the second half, half of their games. Like, I don't think that's the game script for them this season. So, and clearly it's not. They let Joe Mixon go by the wayside. I think that they're saying, hey, yeah, we're going to make do with what we got, and then we're going to trust Joe Burrow.
Sounds good to me, and now I feel much better. Now we promised the people 8 running backs. We gave them 8 running backs. Boggs, you're out on Bengals running backs too, or do you like a little Chase Brown?
I like Chase Brown. Chase Brown carried the load at Illinois, and that was – they all knew what was coming, and they still couldn't stop Chase Brown. So I do like him, but the NFL is a different task than college football. So you're not playing Michigan State out there. You're playing the Ravens. You're playing the Steelers. You know what I mean? So we just haven't seen him do it. That's why he's going later. So I'll take Chase Brown late. I'm not touching Zach Moss because the old scouting trope, availability is the best ability, and he's just not available all the time. He's hurt that arm a bunch of times. I just don't expect him to stay on the field.
After this, if you're not excited about the college football show on Betting Pros, I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, this is going to be the dynamic duo. Scott Bogman doing the Dynasty podcast stuff still.
Gonna watch Terrell lose a lot of money betting against the Longhorns.
Yeah, all that Liberty money going up in smoke. A lot of good times there. But full-time Furman is here now, and I'm excited that Terrell's with us here on the Fantasy Pro side, especially on the Betting Pro side. Again, Fast Break Bets is going to be back before you know it on the NBA side. So if you're betting NBA, go and follow Terrell on social media situations at Really Rel. And also, there's an underscore somewhere too, isn't there? I believe it's
double underscore.
2 underscores. Why are you trying so hard? What are you
Hey, man, the guy stole the one with 1. If he didn't steal it, I wish he would tweet. Then I could at least DM him and ask him, hey, can I have the name?
Hey, man, I couldn't get Joe Pisapia. If you can't get Joe Pisapia, something's wrong.
Wow.
See? It's the worst. But seriously,
too many cousins, Joe.
That's what happens. Those Italians, everybody.
Scott Bogman was a pretty easy one to get. I got it twice. So
got it twice.
I'm all good.
But this is going to be a fun season. Again, who are the running backs you're avoiding in 2024? Drop your comments below. Subscribe to the channel too. And don't forget, ring that bell till it goes ding for notifications, because on the 19th, we are going to be having our Fantasy Fest here live. So you can join us live. We got a star-studded group here. The best of the best when it comes to fantasy guests are going to be here on the show on the Fantasy Fest. And if you miss it, don't worry. We're going to have the playlist for you here on the YouTube channel, but join us live. You can throw some questions in there in the chat. We want you to be here. Again, that's the 19th on Monday, starting in the afternoon Eastern time, so be here for that channel. Gentlemen, great stuff as always. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Terrell and Boggs, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.